I've now had the chance to play around 4 hours of Resident Evil 9 Requiem, and Capcom is really taking a swing with this one. Using everything they learned from Resident Evil 7 and 8 and all the remakes, they're throwing everything at this game. And at least from what I played, it almost feels like 2 games in one. And they're effectively using that to ping-pong you around emotionally. And I loved it. If you've seen any footage of the game so far, you know that first they introduced us to Grace, the in-over-her-head FBI agent that is basically our Ethan Winters this time around, a character with no real knowledge of the weird world of zombies and viruses and giant monsters trying to kill you. And they established this pretty early on as you play as her. Grace's story begins with her sneaking around a strange medical building, and we don't quite know what it is or why we're here or what the hell's even going on, but we do know something isn't right. And to make matters worse, Grace is being stalked by something. It's an absolutely creepy way to throw us into the game. It's genuinely terrifying. They play with the use of light and dark and how the monster fears the light, but is also smart enough to recognize that breaking a light bulb makes things dark again. It really starts us off on the back foot. And just when things are looking bad for our new character, we cut to Leon Sex Kennedy. Now, I just realized, and I didn't intend for this to happen, but the on the back foot thing kind of ends up being a pun here, because when you first see Leon, he firmly plants his foot on the ground, which is actually a great way to introduce him, because Leon has been here before. He is entirely prepared for all of this nonsense, and the game really hammers that home in an incredible way. Leon has come to Rhodes Hill Asylum in search of Dr. Victor Gideon, who's been conducting experiments linked to his investigation. Of course, the building is former Umbrella, and looks it. The nurse he meets tells him to wait in a room for the doctor, and then all hell breaks loose. But unlike Grace, Leon takes care of business. Chainsawing his way through swaths of zombies, he finds Grace running for her life, and without even a thought, blasts the shit out of the creature chasing her. And while their discussion of the situation is cut short, it's in this moment the game establishes exactly what it's gonna be and why I instantly fell in love. You see, to me, every single horror game, without fail, has one inherent problem. The longer the game goes on, the less scary it becomes. Some try to change up the monsters, some try to add different ways to scare you, but usually by the end you're just kind of going through the motions. Requiem learned something valuable from Resident Evil 8, I think, in that after running away from Vampire Mommy and the girls, the game starts to lose steam, until you end up in that house with the doll. That was amazing. It's a totally different experience from the rest of the game, and maybe the best part. They also finally really put to use that first-person, third-person thing they were messing with in a really creative way as well. So you've probably noticed that in the footage, when you play as Grace, you're playing in first person, and when you play as Leon, you're playing in third. While the game offers the ability to play in both for either character, it's the default settings. Grace, in first person, is terrified, unaware of her surroundings, consumed by dread, and you can hear that in her panicked breathing, the way she's overwhelmed. She just stumbled into this world. Leon is in third person. It's designed to show Leon's confidence. He can see his surroundings. He's prepared. He's a tank. The shift is also in power dynamic. When you switch from Leon to Grace, the game's telling you, you're no longer the hero. You're a victim. Grace starts out like most playable characters in Resident Evil. Low ammo, low damage, barely any storage space, and you really have to manage your inventory well. Leon had a fully unlocked inventory. In fact, he's got so many weapons, he gives Grace a gun. And the brilliance of that is, while Grace can find other guns, when you use the gun Leon gave her, the recoil shakes her so hard, she comments that it hurts her hands. You feel that weakness. But of course, like all RE characters, the longer we play as Grace, the more we unlock for her and the more she comes into her own. But like I said, at this point, the two characters are split again, and we're thrust back into the terror of being Grace. Except now there are a ton of zombies around, And in order to escape, in Resident Evil fashion, she needs to find objects to insert into a door to open it to get out of the area of the asylum she's trapped in. This involves sneaking around and avoiding all sorts of new terrible zombies and creatures that I will not spoil, but I will explain one of them since it relates to something I want to talk about later. One type of enemy is a singing zombie woman. That's right, their eerie voice echoes down halls and you can hear them well before you can see them. It kind of sounds like those singing bat things in Elden Ring, and if you're spotted by them, they'll scream so loud they'll alert all the other zombies in the area. And if they get close to you, they'll scream, and it will disorientate you to the point where you cannot shoot straight. You will just be a complete mess. It absolutely sucks. And in this portion of Grace's story that I played, it was really about the balance of sneaking and killing, because Grace has to go back and forth between the wings of the asylum a few times since there's all sorts of different puzzles and items to unlock to increase her inventory and get you better gear. Like one example is you can unlock the ability to use a hemolytic injector, which makes zombies explode like that dude in Big Trouble in Little China. You'll want to do that, because just like Resident Evils of old, some zombies can come back to life. But if you blow them up, they're definitely dead. And when they're dead, you can eventually learn to extract blood samples from them, and from that blood, you can use it to learn recipes and craft items, an ability Leon does not have. But as Grace, you're going to need all of that, because the more you explore, the more absolutely wild characters show up to hunt down Grace, and most of the time, they just straight up murder her. It is, as I said, rough. Eventually, some story happens and Grace meets the doctor. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil, but we're then taken back to Leon. Now, as Leon, we're exploring roughly the same area, except instead of fear, you are ready to kill every last asshole who gave Grace a hard time. And when I say it's cathartic, you have no idea. That singing zombie woman, I blasted her ass with a shotgun right off a balcony. It made me laugh like a madman. I was so pleased. Now, sure, you can still run out of ammo as Leon and be totally screwed. It's Resident Evil after all. But with Leon, you're done sneaking. And it's that back and forth that I really enjoyed. When I needed relief from Grace's personal hell, I got it. And just when I was enjoying the murder spree Leon was on, the game was like, no, you're gonna have to run for your life as Grace now. I was just so pleasantly surprised by the flow of the game and how engaged it kept me. I was really impressed. I do have one gripe though. Mostly it's because of me, but I guess this should serve as a word of warning for all of you. Manage your inventory well. There were a few moments in the game when I was playing as Grace that I had a full inventory and I saw an item and I was like, you know what, I'll come back for that later. I'm gonna drop stuff off in the safe room. And then something would happen that would prevent me from ever going back to that area again. That stuff was lost. Ammo, herbs, whatever was there, it was gone. And that, in a game where you need to have all the stuff for your survival horror, it hurts, man. So don't be like me. All in all, Requiem feels like a celebration of all the different eras of Resident Evil. You get the power fantasy action moments with Leon and the suffocating dread with Grace. I'm really curious where this story goes, I'll be honest. I played a bunch and I'm still not quite sure. Also, I have no clue what this has to do with the other games or the bigger story. I'm so ready for more information. Honestly, we'll see. But I am very excited for this game when it comes out on February 27th. You know for sure the squad's gonna play it, so stay tuned for that.